Welcome to True Crime Fusion, where we uncover the darkest secrets and most twisted tales of betrayal, deceit, and murder. Today, we delve into the shocking story of Sheriff Maxwell Granger, a man of the law who found himself at the center of a scandal so explosive it shook the affluent community of Sapphire Heights. This is the story of love, power, betrayal, and murder. Sapphire Heights, California, was a place of wealth and exclusivity, home to sprawling mansions, perfectly manicured lawns, and residents with secrets worth millions. Sheriff Maxwell Granger was the stalwart face of law enforcement in this elite enclave. Known for his unwavering dedication, broad shoulders, and warm smile, he was respected by colleagues and adored by townsfolk. Yet, beneath the polished badge and crisp uniform, Max carried a secret that could destroy everything he had built. At 41, Sheriff Granger was married to his high school sweetheart, Lisa. Together, they had 2 children and lived in a modest home on the outskirts of town. But Max's life wasn't as picture-perfect as it seemed. For the past year, he had been entangled in an illicit affair with one of the wealthiest women in the state, Eleanor Whitmore, the 38-year-old billionaire CEO of Whitmore Technologies. Eleanor was everything Max wasn't: ruthless, ambitious, and unapologetically bold. Her empire spanned everything from cutting-edge software to luxury lifestyle brands, making her a household name. But Eleanor had a reputation as a woman who didn't just play by the rules. She rewrote them to suit her desires. When she set her sights on Max, it wasn't just about forbidden romance. Eleanor was used to getting what she wanted, no matter the cost. Their affair began innocently enough. Max had been called to Eleanor's estate, a glass and steel fortress perched on a cliff overlooking the Pacific, after an alleged break-in. Eleanor, dressed in silk and pearls, had been visibly shaken, clutching a glass of wine as she explained the situation. Max assured her of his protection, but what began as routine police work quickly spiraled into something far more personal. Over late-night conversations, stolen glances, and discreet rendezvous, their affair ignited. For months, they met in secret, far from prying eyes. Theirs was a relationship of stark contrasts, the humble sheriff and the glamorous billionaire. Yet, their chemistry was undeniable, and soon Max found himself drawn into Eleanor's glittering, high-stakes world, a world that would ultimately consume him. In early June, the affair took a dramatic turn. Eleanor revealed she was pregnant. The revelation hit Max like a freight train. Eleanor, ever the strategist, saw the pregnancy as a complication, but also an opportunity. "This could be a new beginning for us," she whispered one evening, her voice dripping with seduction. But Max wasn't so sure. Torn between his duty to his family and his reckless love for Eleanor, he began to unravel under the weight of his double life. It was during this volatile period that tragedy struck. On June 17, 2023, the Sapphire Heights Police Department received a frantic 911 call from Eleanor's estate. Her assistant, Maria Lopez, had stumbled upon a grisly scene. Eleanor Whitmore, the town's wealthiest resident, had been found dead in her lavish study. Blood pooled beneath her lifeless body, staining the white marble floor. Her throat had been slashed with what appeared to be a letter opener, the ornate handle still clutched in her limp hand. Maria's voice trembled on the recording. "Oh my God, she's dead. Someone killed her." The dispatcher struggled to calm her, sending officers to the scene immediately. Sheriff Maxwell Granger was among the first to arrive. As Max stepped into the sprawling estate, a chill ran down his spine. Eleanor's study, once a sanctuary of power and opulence, was now a crime scene. The air smelled of copper and salt. Her body lay sprawled across the Persian rug, her signature pearl necklace stained red. The sight was almost too much for Max to bear, but he maintained his composure. He couldn't afford to let anyone see the cracks in his facade. Detective Serena Chase, a sharp-witted investigator with a penchant for uncovering secrets, was assigned to the case. She immediately took note of Max's pale complexion and unsteady hands. "Sheriff, you all right?" she asked, her piercing blue eyes searching his face. Max nodded quickly, brushing off her concern. "Just didn't expect to see her like this." Serena wasn't convinced, but she let it slide. For now, as the investigation unfolded, The evidence painted a grim picture. There were no signs of forced entry, suggesting the killer was someone Eleanor knew. The letter opener used in the murder bore no fingerprints, and Eleanor's extensive security system had mysteriously been disabled just hours before her death. Adding to the mystery was the discovery of a hidden safe in Eleanor's office. Inside were stacks of documents, some detailing shady business dealings, others far more personal. Among them was a handwritten letter addressed to Max. Serena caught sight of the envelope but said nothing, for now. By the time the sun set on Sapphire Heights that evening, rumors were already swirling. The town buzzed with speculation. Was it a business rival, a scorned lover, or someone much closer to Eleanor than anyone suspected? Sheriff Maxwell Granger, still reeling from the discovery of Eleanor's body, returned home that night to his unsuspecting family. But as he tried to bury his grief and guilt, one thing was clear. Eleanor's death wasn't just a murder. It was the beginning of the end for him. The investigation into Eleanor Whitmore's murder sent shockwaves through Sapphire Heights. The billionaire CEO had enemies, lovers, and rivals, but none of them seemed likely to turn her luxurious estate into a crime scene. As Detective Serena Chase began untangling the threads of Eleanor's complicated life, a picture of betrayal and deceit began to emerge, one that implicated Sheriff Maxwell Granger far more than anyone could have anticipated. Detective Chase couldn't shake the image of the envelope addressed to Max, tucked among the documents in Eleanor's hidden safe. The neat handwriting and personalized seal stood out, a clue begging to be explored. After hours of processing evidence at the scene, Serena finally opened the letter under the watchful eyes of her forensic team. Its contents were brief but damning. Max, you promised me we'd figure this out together. If you walk away now, I'll have no choice but to tell Lisa everything. I'm carrying your child, and I won't let you pretend this never happened. Eleanor. Serena's mind raced. The implications were staggering. Could Sheriff Granger, a man she had worked with for years, a figure of integrity, be involved in Eleanor's death? The letter hinted at tension, perhaps even blackmail, but was it enough to drive him to murder? Serena knew better than to jump to conclusions, but she also knew this letter couldn't be ignored. The next morning, Max arrived at the precinct, visibly shaken but determined to keep up appearances. Serena approached him casually, a folder of evidence tucked under her arm. "Morning, Sheriff. Mind if we chat about the Whitmore case?" Max nodded, his jaw tight. They moved to his office, where Serena laid out a series of photos: Eleanor's body, the bloodied letter opener, and the documents from the safe. She left the letter to Max for last, watching his reaction closely. The sheriff's face drained of color when he saw it. "Is there something you'd like to share, Sheriff?" Serena asked, her voice calm but probing. Max hesitated, his fingers twitching as if resisting the urge to grab the letter. Eleanor and I were friends," he stammered. "She confided in me about her personal struggles." "Confided?" Serena raised an eyebrow. "Looks more like a threat to me." Max straightened, his tone growing defensive. "You know how she was? Dramatic, controlling. She liked to make people think she had leverage over them. But I didn't kill her, Detective." Serena held his gaze for a moment before nodding. "I hope you're right, Sheriff, because if there's anything you're hiding, now's the time to come clean." While Serena kept Max on her radar, another lead came into focus. Eleanor's assistant, Maria Lopez, had been cooperative during initial questioning, but something about her story didn't sit right. She had claimed to discover the body while delivering Eleanor's lunch, but the timeline felt off. Surveillance footage from the estate revealed Maria entering the property hours before she said she found the body. Serena brought Maria back in for questioning. "Maria," Serena began, her tone firm but non-threatening, "I need you to walk me through the morning again. What time did you arrive at the estate?" Maria fidgeted with her hands, her gaze darting around the room. "Around noon," she said. "I went to pick up lunch first." "And yet," Serena slid a photo across the table. "This footage shows you entering the property at 9:45 a.m. Care to explain?" Maria's face crumbled. Okay, she admitted. "I lied about the timing, but I swear I didn't kill her. She was already dead when I got there." "Why lie then?" Serena pressed. Maria hesitated before whispering, because I knew she was going to confront someone that morning. Someone dangerous. Who? Serena leaned in. Maria swallowed hard. She said she was going to meet her lawyer. There was something about the pregnancy, something she said could ruin her, but she wouldn't tell me who the father was. Armed with this new lead, Serena tracked down Eleanor's lawyer, Douglas Park, a man with a reputation for discretion and ruthless efficiency. When questioned, Park reluctantly admitted to meeting Eleanor the morning of her murder. She was agitated, he said, choosing his words carefully. She was preparing to take legal action against someone. She didn't name them, but I could tell it was personal. Very personal. Serena leaned forward. Was it Sheriff Granger? Park stiffened. I can't confirm that. You're aware we can subpoena you, right? Serena pushed. This is a murder investigation. Park sighed, relenting. Fine. Yes, she mentioned Granger. She was angry, said he'd betrayed her, but she didn't say she feared for her life. This revelation sent Serena back to square one. Was Max capable of such violence? Or was someone else using the chaos of Eleanor's pregnancy and legal threats to cover their tracks? As the investigation pressed on, one critical question remained unanswered. Who disabled Eleanor's state-of-the-art security system the morning of her murder? Tech specialists combed through the system, eventually uncovering traces of remote access. The source: a laptop registered to Sheriff Maxwell Granger. When Serena confronted Max with this new evidence, his reaction was explosive. "This is insane," he yelled. "Someone's framing me. I didn't touch her damn security system." But Serena wasn't buying it. "If that's true, Sheriff, you've got a lot of explaining to do, because right now, it looks like you're not just involved, you're covering your tracks." Max's world was closing in, and for the first time, Serena saw fear in his eyes. Fear, she thought, of the truth finally coming to light. The evidence against Sheriff Granger mounted with every passing day. The letter from Eleanor, the remote access to her security system, and his erratic behavior all pointed to a man with everything to lose. Serena, however, was a seasoned investigator. Despite the damning circumstantial evidence, she couldn't shake the feeling that something didn't add up. Eleanor's death had all the hallmarks of a crime of passion, yet the level of sophistication, disabling the security system, leaving no fingerprints on the weapon, suggested premeditation. It didn't match Max's profile. If Max was guilty, he was either far more calculating than anyone believed, or someone was orchestrating the perfect frame job. Serena decided it was time to force the truth out. She arranged for a public confrontation at the precinct, summoning Max, Maria, and Eleanor's lawyer, Douglas Park, under the pretense of clarifying timelines. It was a risky gamble, but Serena needed to see how they reacted under pressure. As the three gathered in the precinct's cold, sterile conference room, Serena laid out the facts. Eleanor Whitmore was pregnant, she began, watching their faces closely. Max's jaw tightened. Maria looked visibly shaken, her eyes darting to Max, while Park maintained his usual calm exterior, and she planned to expose the father, Serena continued. She said she had leverage. Leverage she planned to use against you, Sheriff. Max slammed his hand on the table. "This is ridiculous. I didn't kill her," he snapped. "Yes, I made mistakes, but I loved Eleanor. I would never hurt her." "Love can make people do dangerous things," Serena replied, her tone measured. She turned to Maria. "And you, what aren't you telling us? Why lie about when you arrived that morning?" Maria burst into tears. "I didn't kill her," she sobbed. "I was scared, okay? I found her like that, and I panicked. I thought people would think I did it." Serena wasn't convinced, but before she could press further, Douglas Park cleared his throat. "Detective, while I understand the need for these theatrics, I have nothing more to add. My client is dead, and my role is strictly professional." Serena smiled thinly. "Professional enough to help her disable her own security system? Because the tech team found traces of your credentials on her server logs." Park's composure cracked. "You're grasping at straws," he said, his voice tight. "Am I?" Serena leaned in. "You were in her will. weren't you? A sizable inheritance, I imagine. Park's silence spoke volumes. As tensions boiled over in the room, Serena's phone buzzed with a notification from forensics. The DNA results from the bloodied letter opener were back, and they didn't match Max, Maria, or Douglas Park. Instead, they matched an unexpected individual, Lisa Granger, Max's wife. Serena's heart pounded as she pieced it together. Lisa, the betrayed wife, had every reason to act. She had access to Max's laptop, the means to frame him, and a motive steeped in betrayal and rage. But how had she known about the affair and Eleanor's pregnancy? The answer lay in an overlooked detail: Eleanor's letter to Max. A second copy had been mailed to Lisa. Serena wasted no time confronting Lisa at her home. The sheriff's wife greeted her with a forced smile, but her eyes betrayed fear. "Detective," she said, "what brings you here?" "I know you killed Eleanor," Serena stated bluntly. "You found out about the affair, the pregnancy, and you decided to punish them both." Lisa's face hardened. "You can't prove anything." "Oh, but I can," Serena said, producing the DNA report. "Your blood was on the weapon. You disabled her security system using Max's laptop, and you even mailed yourself the letter, didn't you?" Lisa's composure crumbled. "She ruined my family," she screamed. "She thought she could steal my husband, have his child, and get away with it. I wasn't going to let that happen." Lisa Granger was arrested on the spot, her tearful confession recorded as evidence. At the precinct, Max sat in stunned silence as the truth unraveled. His wife had orchestrated the perfect revenge, nearly destroying him in the process. The fallout was swift and brutal. Max resigned from his position as sheriff, unable to face the community or himself. Eleanor's murder became the cautionary tale of Sapphire Heights, a story of power, betrayal, and how love turned to vengeance. Lisa was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Max, though free from legal repercussions, became a ghost of his former self, retreating from public life entirely. As Detective Serena Chase closed the case file, she reflected on the tangled web of lies and the cost of secrets. In Sapphire Heights, even the wealthiest and most powerful weren't immune to the consequences of their actions.